if you are leading a safety department at maybe the customer level, one of the things we get a lot of feedback from like our foremen, and not just here, every industry that works in the field, they oftentimes view like, the ivory tower, or those, those who went to school for safety but have never walked in my shoes, making decisions for me out here, but never stepping foot out here. I understand that. I also understand there is a lot of value they're bringing to the field as well, both sides. How do you think, if you're a safety professional and you're sitting in the office and you're trying to make decisions, safety procedures, what have you, in the field for someone that does it on every single day? That's what they do for a living. How do you meet in the middle, in your opinion? To where that employee in the field now says, you know what, I respect Shawn and safety because what he's doing, he actually cares. He gets me. He actually feels like you're just as invested. So it's not just, Shawn's out here dishing out all these different forms and chat boxes for me to fill out for 45 minutes every morning. Shawn's actually doing the stuff to actually keep me safe in the field. How do you speak to that safety professional is battling that to best meet in the middle there?
Safety professionals have a brand, and a brand is how you associate with a product, a person, a company, a team, EHS leadership team as an example. And you have to be constantly monitoring your brand and how your brand is perceived. And there can often be a disconnect. There's more of a disconnect opportunity if, like you're saying, they're just staying in the office and they're not going out and seeing how work is being determined. In a process environment, you have something called management of change, and there has to be validations in involving certain stakeholders to sign off and review things before we implement this change. I think taking that mindset is a good approach. Now, the top level safety professional can't always be out there in the field, like the CEO of an organization can't always be out there in the field. So you have to build your lieutenants. You have to build a consortium of individuals that feel comfortable telling me the emperor has no clothes. So you have to bring people in, and whether it's through the concept of learning teams and human and organizational performance, where we involve people that are at the pointy end of the stick, so we're not making these decisions at the blunt end of the stick. So however feasible, we need to go see, and that's the concept of Gemba and lean manufacturing. You have to go where the work is being performed to engage people. And shame on the safety professionals if there's no mechanism or channel to be able to validate how decisions affect the people performing the work. Strategically, there was a group based in Paris several years ago, and that was one of their primary strategic priorities was involving EHS in project deployment, because they would stand up certain facilities to support their client base for a few years, and the safety professional wasn't brought in. So of course you'd run into issues that put people in harm's way. So that's an obvious example. When we implement a policy or procedure, if we're not involving people that actually perform that work, there's going to be points of conflict. So however feasible, we have to realize that how we are perceived is also going to affect how people support our decisions. And safety professionals evolve in organizations, and all three of these are wildly important. But the first level is what we refer to as a grunt. Doesn't mean to sound derogatory, but they manage the paperwork, they do all the heavy lifting and everything, and they're all needed in certain aspects of an organization, especially larger ones. The next level is they're perceived as a guardian. They're owning the programs, they're helping leaders take some responsibility, they're guarding as decisions are being made. And the final level is a guru, a true subject matter expert, somebody that's like general counsel. They don't run the business, but they advise in the decision-making process to make sure the decisions are going to be carried out effectively, successfully. So as that leader evolves to that guru state, they still need to keep themselves grounded. Myself, as somebody that's a subject matter expert in safety excellence, 2 weeks ago, I was working with an oil crude hauling organization. And for almost a full shift, I drove a route with one of these truck drivers and went to their locations as they were picking up crude and then releasing it at some of their stations. And I got a day in the life of, and I'm the CEO of my organization. So if I can do that, then safety professionals, where feasible, and sometimes they're not allowed to, they're not allowed to travel, to go visit locations, to go drive a right of way to see the reality of how we've set contractors up, then they need to find people that can be their voice of reality in the field. So if we're making decisions and if we're not checking how those decisions affect how the work is supposed to be performed, we should be no surprise when things don't go to plan.